Godspeed and blessed to be. How art thou? Blessed, and highly favored, and if you're not, you're about to be, you see. First, let's take in the shirt. What does it say? It says, be great. Amen. Be great today, every day, forever and ever. I'm on. I really, really love this shirt. I got this from a thrift store that I love frequenting, along with this good little flannel. You hear me? Had that little winter hunter green going, and that little gang green, and I fucked with it, so I ended up getting it both on the same occasion. But that's besides the point because we're not really talking about the outfits. This is just something I just put on. Um, this is a disclaimer. If you have been traumatized in any way, like you've dealt with stalking, you've dealt with harassment of any kind, you've dealt with manipulation and abuse to the point where you're being followed uh, and harangued, you might want to click off this video. I often try to add comedy into whatever I talk about, even if it's serious topics and serious subject matter, because life shouldn't be so heavy and hard all the time, but some things are not a laughing matter. And this particular topic is not anything to laugh at. Whether you've gone through this personally, you know someone who has, and it's by secondhand nature that you are aware of it, or you've just heard about it through tales and stories of others' encounters. But this is my truth. And I had to really take this up with the Most High to even see if this was appropriate for me to discuss. Namely, because like I mentioned in previous videos, I don't always be giving y'all the full throttle. If you have ever watched The Matrix, right, you know that whenever Neo visited the Oracle, or whenever he believed he was the one that was coming to her when she was actually conjuring him, but that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. Um, it was always because he needed confirmation and verification of what he already believed himself. But he needed her stamp of approval in order to believe that what he was doing was the right way to go. He was implementing the right techniques and tactics and maneuvers in order to bring about the proper outcome. Um, in particular, when he visited her, and it was like the setup of like a New York park. I'm gonna get to what I'm talking about, but this kind of goes into it. It was like the setup of a New York park, and he sat beside her because if you know the Matrix in the original one, he visited her in her kitchen, what appeared to be her kitchen, her home, and she offered him a seat, and he didn't take it the first time. Namely because he wasn't too trusting of her. He wasn't too trusting of anything that was happening at the time. Um, besides Morpheus, he probably had the most faith in Morpheus above anything else. Um, when he sat and they before they started discussing anything, she said, "You're not here to make a choice. You've already made that." I'm paraphrasing. It's not verbatim. She was saying that you're here to confirm that the choice that you made was appropriate, that it was the right way for you to go. Her mission as an oracle was not to deliver answers, signs, symbols, and synchronicities for him to follow. The oracle's main goal is to guide you to where you're supposed to have faith enough in your intuition and in whatever system, organization, conglomerate, or God the nation of the gods, amen, that you serve, so that you don't have to lean on someone else's approval. You don't have to check twice and thrice over. You can be solidified in knowing that whatever you know it to be, it is. So I don't give full throttle because I'm not meant to expose everything for you all. You have to go through it to get through it. And you can't live vicariously through someone else's experience or their story or their life force in order to do so. That's siphoning. And that can only get you so far. And once you are where you believe you're supposed to be because you siphon enough from enough people or a whole organization of people, you're going to be up shit's creek without a paddle because you don't know how to sustain that. You did not learn. That's the whole gag about going through it. You learn. There are lessons involved that you can't just bypass and go straight to the main test. You have to go through those lessons. And some of them you have to fail more than once in order to really grasp the concept. It's besides the point. I'm not equating myself to the oracle, but I'm just letting y'all know, like, yeah, this is that. I have not really expressed this to anyone else because I know that there isn't someone who has lived a similar experience and that they would be able to understand. And that can be isolating, to say the least, to know that you have lived this. This is not something that you read about. It's not something that you're getting through secondhand um, a recount, but this is something that you've actually experienced yourself, or that you're still experiencing yourself, such as myself. Right. Previous video where I said favor makes you hate it. I stated that me growing up was somewhat difficult for me because there was always someone in the midst of trying to diminish me, trying to humble me, trying to squash the confidence that God imbued in me. And because I've always known who I was, I've always known who I was. I didn't have to go through a period of finding myself. I've always known who I was. I may not have known to the full extent of what the purpose was for me, but I've always known who I was. Because of that, that has always made me a target. I can say always. It's always put me in a position where folks want to do damage. Sometimes in the worst way, more times than not in the worst way. They be cowards. No. And they can't really come up against me unless they have a group of others to back them. Or they have somebody, that's applauding them and rooting them on. So I don't really pay it no mind. But the topic of this video is about gang stalking. And this is a term that has been loosely used by others who want to make themselves more important than they actually are. And they're trying to promote their social status by making it seem as if others are also tapped in and tuned into their life to where they can't live it accordingly. And granted, I can't negate someone else's experience because I've gone through my own, and I would not want to do that. But more times than not, when folks talk about gang stalking and they talk about it in such a casual manner, you probably haven't really been gang stalked, or you haven't been stalked whatsoever. A victim of gang stalking or stalking in the general sense, we don't just give over that information so readily. For safety reasons, first and foremostly. Because even though, like I mentioned, these motherfuckers be cowards can still pull the trigger too. You know? The the most fearful is the one who is going to do the most damage more times than not. Out of fear. And their defense mechanisms kicking in and, needing to protect themselves from what they perceive as a threat. Gang stalking is the accumulation of harassment, of generalized stalking, um, where like in-person stalking, location tracking. Yeah, it it can go as far as social media is concerned and the cyber world being involved as well. The haranguing and the bullying of a individual to get them to either do harm to themselves or to do harm to another where they're in a confined state, such as the penal system or something akin to the penal system. Okay. Most victims of gang stalking are those who hold some special capabilities. They have a light about them that cannot be explained through everyday vernacular because it's bestowed by God. Now, whether they believe in God or not, it's not it's not the argument that we're having on today. It's bestowed by a higher power, though, something that is beyond them. That no matter, even if they don't want to shine it as fully as it may be, it's going to come through every time. I've been getting gang stalked since I was in my early 20s. I am now 31. If you're even anywhere near proper in math, that's 10 plus years of harassment, haranguing, generalized stalking, and bullying by cowards. But cowards who have dedicated themselves to a particular order, who have taken oaths in that order's name, and then they have to pull these missions off, right? If you want me to give an example, it's something along the lines of New Jack City. When Wesley Snipes recalls to Ice-T that what got him a name when he was younger was he got down on the set and he joined a gang, and one of their requirements for him was to shed blood. So he recalls the story to Ice-T, not even knowing that this is the person who happened to be his victim and whose life he took was Ice-T's mother. He talks about how he got real high off of whatever substance, um, or narcotic that he was using at the time. He walked up to one of the first people that he saw, which was happened to be a lady. He remembers how she looked, what she was wearing, the whole nine. And he shot her. He shot her dead in the street. Okay. That is an example of gang stalking. Not particularly so because it wasn't like he had intel on this woman. It wasn't like he had surveilled her for months and months on end. But the gang that he was a part of, they have these requirements that are in place that if you want to be down on the set, you have to do. There is no getting around it. There is no exceptions to the rule. All that are underneath that oath have to do the bidding of said oath. And whoever the masters are that are in that organization, okay? I live in Houston, Texas. I have always lived in Houston, Texas. I was born and raised here, a proud Houstonian. Love my city down, love it to the highest end. I'm a South Side baby, so I'm giving y'all more than I ever have given. I'm a South Side baby, so I come from like dead end all the way to Third Ward. I have people all over Houston though, like familials. But as far as me and my immediate family being the woman that raised me and my siblings, we are South Side people. Okay, what prompted the gang stalking in my early 20s was the fact that I got initiated at 21. I didn't get initiated by any Babalao, no Mambos, no Hogans, no none of that. No priest or priestesses. I was born into this, and it just took for me to come into age in order for those gifts and capabilities that I always had to ramp up even more. This is around the time, this is a little bit before the time of COVID. I started to become known for me doing my spiritual works. Even if people were not coming to get my services, they knew of the services that I was providing, right? The services being readings and conjurings. Excuse me. And that's confirmation. But being from a metropolitan city as big as Houston, the hoods really don't be that big. And everybody knows somebody who knows somebody through somebody else. Okay, follow me. So if you start to get a name in any capacity here in Houston, it's not just you have a name on one particular part of town or side of town that you live on or that your people from or that you're known. It spreads like wildfire, especially if we're talking about spiritual essence and religious matter. Because even the lowest of the lowest spirits, okay, are often coming to some type of religious organization because they're seeking to get closer to God because they know that they don't be living their life right. That's besides the point. Early 20s, here I am. I'm talking about full informed in my abilities. And I was real reckless when I first started out. Oh my God, I was reckless as they come. Okay. I did not have any respect or, well, I won't say I didn't have any. I had very minimal respectability for those who didn't understand and who didn't have an allegiance to the as above, so below, as within, so without. And quite as kept out as maybe, I really still don't have much respectability for those who don't understand. They don't have the proper, even like the basic knowledge of. It's just it don't make sense to me, but that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. I lived in Third Ward for quite some time, me and my family. I come from a family of addicts, gangbangers and gunslingers. So it wasn't like I wasn't already privy to that world. It's just not something that I leaned into or that I wanted to be a part of. I was more of the scholarly type. I was reading in the house while everybody else was outside thugging and bugging. You hear what I'm saying to you? I wasn't green in any capacity. Knew what was going on when it was happening. I just did not have the verbiage for it, and it was very new territory for me to really determine that this is what this was. There's a young man, it was a street pharmaceutical. Okay, follow me. He knew my family and he knew me because we lived in the same area. Around this time, this is not this is just the bricks, you hear me? This is the peace. This ain't got this is not well living. Okay. uh it's a little bit close to the bottom. Too close to the bottom for my own sake, if you ask me, but we ain't talking about me right now. But we talking about me, okay? Come on, follow me, because I'm getting to a point. I know that it seems drawn out, but there's a reason why. He took a liking to me. Now, mind you, this street pharmaceutical is well known. Like I said, he ain't just known where he sell his product at. He's known all over the city, even outside of the city, if you catch my drift. He's not just known, so it's his family, okay? He set his sights on me. He determined in his mind that he would have me, and that was that. This is the type of man that is used to getting whoever he wants because he a street nigga, not a hood nigga. Let me be very clear. He is a street nigga, meaning that he lived by the sword and he died by the sword, okay? He's already common law married with kids. So that was a ultimate 3 strikes and you out for me. I don't fuck with married men, whether that is lawfully married or you're common law married, however you working it. I do not disgrace the grace of marriage, okay? Even if the marriage ain't built on no solid foundation, that's not for me to determine. That's something that y'all gotta take up with God, because y'all entered into that with one another. But you will not add me to the equation. I'm not that girl for it, never have been, and I don't date men with kids. He took a liking to me. He underneath the 5. If you know, you fucking know. And that was all she wrote. To the point that even when I moved out from the space and place that me and my family were living in at the time, and I got my own apartment, my first apartment, my second apartment, everywhere that I lived from that moment forward, when he determined in his mind that he would have me, he followed me. And he would do things like, I lived in an apartment complex. He would sit where he could have a bird's eye view of me in the parking lot and just watch me. And to those who are still following the story, and you're asking, well, why would he, decide out of you, of all the many women that he could pick to be with, on, and I do mean many, of various forms. They weren't all just hoes and tramps and sluts and prostitutes. I'm talking about bitches who working for Fortune 500 companies, silver spoon babies, sugar baby. Listen, nah. Okay, trust fund babies, the whole nine. He had the hoes, and the hoes had him. Okay, and then on top of that, he had a baby mama. The reason why he was so honed in on me and he became fixated to the point where he decided upon himself and he justified his actions towards me was because I was not like those women. I didn't really pay him much mind, mainly because I thought that he was destroying the very community that he was supposed to be uplifting, where he comes from, and that he wasn't setting a good example for his own children, let alone any other children that were impacted by him. And that alone was something that was a turn off for me. I did not judge him, because I do understand that more times than not you have to do what you have to do to be able to provide for your family. But I also was not celebrating and applauding him for destroying the community that he came from. I'm not that girl who gonna lie to kick it for you. And as much as men claim that women who have standards and who have boundaries are very difficult and they just too much to deal with, they will want somebody more simpler. They respect those women. Not only respect those women, those are the women that will get everything up off of him. Okay? This young man also came from the isms. If you know, you know. His grandfather was breaking hoes in. If you grew up watching a male figure of yours treat women as property and not as human beings, you just kind of naturally fall into that way. So here he is, attractive, got money, cause he maneuvering through the streets and he doing whatever the fuck he doing and he making money from it. And from what I hear, he's slanging dick, good dick at that. That's what they was saying. The streets was ringing bells, ding ding about the young man. Okay, he became fixated on me. He started following me, and it just grew from there to where, because he's already operating a certain type of business, even if it's not even if it's not an LLC or a proprietorship, it the business is businessing. Okay, he couldn't always be where I was because I was maneuvering back then. Like I was not at home all the time because I had to take care of myself. I've always had to take care of myself. I don't really come from silver spoon living, so I had to get it how I lived, and I was thugging and bugging, 2 jobs, school, the whole nine. He knew that he couldn't be everywhere that I was, so he started paying people to follow me, right? First it was people that he knew. It was close friends, it was younger family members, and I say younger because nobody that's old enough with some sense is gonna be like, yeah, let me go stalk a woman out for you that you don't have no obligation or duty to. It would be different if him and I laid together and I had his child, or we had some former ties to one another. I never touched this man in no way as such. We never laid together. There was never a conversation about us being together. None of that. Here I am getting stalked throughout my 20s and knowing that I'm getting stalked. And at first it was comical to me because, like, I got a tendency to laugh at some shit sometimes that's not funny. And it's really out of me being uncomfortable with certain things that happen. Like, it don't be sitting well in my spirit. So instead of me, because I used to have rageful tendencies and I had an anger issue, instead of me getting mad and crashing out, I just laugh. So originally I made a joke out of it. I thought the shit was funny because I'm like, look at this nigga, really running himself ragged, chasing his own tail, spending money that he could really be keeping in his bank account and putting towards his kids and his family and shit, to bother a woman who don't give a fuck if you lived or died. Didn't care nothing about this young man. That turned into him not only paying people that he knew, but people that that were related to him and that were close to him, but just people that he would know. Some of the J's that he serviced, if you know what the fuck I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Some of the hoes that he was fucking on, it became a game to him because psychologically now the rejection was cute at first, but now it's starting to affect his ego. One thing about the male ego is it can be the death of you. Pride begets the fall, and the ego is made up of nothing but pride. So he couldn't handle the fact that I was genuinely not interested. Because in his mind, he originally believed that he can have anybody that he wanted. I was just another one to put on the bedpost, another notch on the bedpost. You understand? Another one he can knock down and have stories he could tell his friends about. That did not come into fruition. He was not able to get what he was seeking from me. And now here comes the violence. Because those who are sociopathic and who have this grandiose sense of who they are versus who they actually are versus how they want to seem to the outside world, you can't embarrass them even if nobody else is paying attention to whatever game that he has now entered you into. In his mind, you are putting him on full display and embarrassing him in front of all of his peers, all of the ones that his little foot soldiers that he have, all of the ones that's supposed to be respecting him, and you're ruining his reputation in his mind. Mind you, none of this is going on. But in his mental capacity, this is what he's experiencing. So yeah, you got to pay for that now. So it started off with just being watched and surveilled, and then it not translates, it segues into now you're paying people to harass me. Now you're paying people who they wanna they wanna move their feet together with a bitch, and let's bang it out type shit. Now, and I'm talking about men, women, kids. It just became to a point where it's like, nah, this ain't just no coincidence where I'm stepping outside and I'm minding my business and motherfuckers is just fucking with me for no reason. And granted, I'm not one of them ones that's like, oh, people are always bothering me and they will never leave me alone because I got my own ways. You understand what I'm saying? I got a mouth on me. And that mouth can definitely get you in trouble more times than not with because everybody ain't with the shits. But for the most part, I definitely mind my business. I definitely stay to myself. I definitely am not seeking to provoke anyone and cause no harm to nobody. I be really in my own world. So if I'm in my own world and I know that I'm not impeding upon nobody else and I'm still getting fucked with, that's not coincidental. It's not coincidental that I'm seeing motherfuckers like like I said, I would had 2 jobs and I was going to school. I be catching public transportation. I see somebody early in the morning. It's 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning. They getting on a bus with me. They looking like they going to work, got on work clothes, the whole nine. And then it's not no coincidence that we on the same bus that when I'm coming back home later that evening, 5, 6 o'clock in the evening, 7 o'clock in the evening. That's not no coincidence. And then it's happening on more than one occasion. It's happening consecutively. Like I'm starting to see the same people. It's not because we are in the same spaces and places. It's because you're following me. Okay? I was like originally didn't want to believe that because I didn't think that I had nothing that somebody really wanted to pay attention to. I was like, girl, I live a boring life. I don't be outside. I'm not pussy popping on the handstand. I really don't have friends like that. I talk to my family every once in a while. This is when I had moved out from away from them. So, and I'm on a whole nother side of town from where most of them live at. It would take them 30 plus minutes, almost an hour to get to where I'm, if traffic is involved, almost an hour to get where I live at. So I'm really in my own world, like I said, was delusional, was really denying and like, no, Raven, you just tripping, you just trying to make yourself more important than you really are. Playing it off. Was getting stalked, was getting surveilled, was getting recon done on me, intel. And it makes it worse when motherfuckers like this have um, connections to law enforcement, right? Because it makes it more simpler for them to follow you, to get a APB about you. Not APB, but to understand your coordinates and where you be at, especially if they know your movements. It makes it so much simpler. Because all they got to do is call whoever they know in law enforcement and have them people pull up whatever, phone that you may have, whatever electronic devices that you have, they be tapping them, that type of shit. And it seems like it's like some cinema movie type shit, but it's not. It happens on an everyday basis. You will be surprised. I told you he was underneath the five. And most of them that's underneath the five be Masonic. Now, what order they a part of? Don't ask me that. What degree they are? That ain't my business. Would they be Masons? Masons have a network. They're not just some run of the mill organization. They are a network that extends past geographical location. That extends past you just knowing something about a little bit of something about a little something. Masons study Hermetic text and they be knowing sacred geometry and they know how to manipulate time and shit. You understand? Especially if they are a well studied Mason. Not talking about them novice and them baby ones, the ones that's just getting down. No, I'm talking about the ones who've been doing this for quite some time, who actually was raised upon this. The finite figures and shit like that. The Grabovoi codes and shit like that. You know, that's what I'm talking about. The ones who use hoodoo, voodoo, and everything else today. That's the ones I'm talking about. So yeah, I'm making a joke as I said I always do, because I can't help my motherfucking self. Should be funny. But yeah, your girl getting gang stalked. I said all of that just to say that at the end. Ain't that crazy? I've been getting gang stalked. I'm probably gonna continue to get gang stalked as long as I live in Houston, Texas. And even if I move somewhere else where them people know some people who know me, it's gonna be a whole nother setup of it. It's not for the weak, I would definitely say. And like I mentioned, their purpose is for you to either unalive yourself or for you to commit a 187 on someone else and then get thrown in the back of that paddy wagon and be put in a cage. So they set up circumstances and scenarios where you have no other choice but to it be a lose-lose situation. And you'll know if you're getting gang stalked because, like I said, it just keeps happening. It's not random occurrences. It's things that are seeming like they are being planned and they're being executed. It's not random that that person in the grocery store just decided to argue with you out of nowhere. It's not random that you be at the mall, somebody bump into you, and they looking at you like you crazy. It's not random that somebody in your neighborhood then decided that they don't fuck with you and now they starting to target your house. It's not random that you coming up out your house and your car that is in your driveway is on flats. You ain't ran over no glass. Your tires is full of air. It's not random that your kids are going through some bullshit at school all of a sudden. They've been probably going to the same school, been knowing them same kids for forever long. All of a sudden, your children are going through bullying. They're being targeted. The teachers is fucking with them. The principal fucking with them. The other kids fucking with them. That don't be random. But because we only think in logic and reasoning, most of us don't even have that, but we would like to believe ourselves and delude ourselves as believing that we do. We don't like to connect the dots and see the holes in the story. We don't want to really confirm with